Metal chairs scraped concrete as Marcus Thompson leaned back, laughing. "Hey there, cleaning lady," he called to Rihanna Brooks, methodically wiping the tactical whiteboard. "What's your rank?" "Janitor first class." Explosive laughter erupted from the 12 SEALs waiting for their briefing. Rihanna, petite in her gray maintenance uniform, never stopped cleaning. Jake Morrison nudged Marcus. "Easy there. Maybe she's a general in the sanitation corps." Tommy Walsh, a 19-year-old recruit, pointed accusingly. "Do you even know he just got back from Syria? Real operators doing real missions." Rihanna's grip tightened imperceptibly. 12 feet to the exit. 2 cameras. 15 witnesses. Muscle memory calculating tactical positions automatically. Marcus stood, his 6 feet 4 inches frame towering over her 5 feet 2 inches stature. "Prove it then. Show us what you know about actual military operations. Otherwise, show some respect to real warriors who've actually bled for this country." Uncomfortable silence spread. Colonel Harrison scheduled to arrive in 3 minutes. Rihanna set down her bottle with surgical precision. Staff Sergeant Lopez entered. "What's the holdup, Thompson?" "Just giving this civilian a chance to prove she belongs in a classified briefing room," Marcus replied. "Security seems pretty loose." Rihanna continued cleaning, but her posture shifted. Weight perfectly balanced. Peripheral vision expanded. Her hands moved with fluid precision from years of specialized training. Dr. Kim entered carrying files, glancing dismissively at Rihanna. Security should have cleared all non-essential personnel by now. Marcus stepped closer, invading her space. "Here's what I think happened. You heard some military terminology, maybe dated a soldier once, and now you're playing dress-up? But this isn't a game. Real people die when security gets compromised." For the first time, Rihanna looked up. Her eyes met Marcus directly, and something in that steady gaze made him unconsciously step backward. "You were in Syria," she said quietly. "Talapar region. August 12, 2019. Operation Desert Storm Echo." The room went dead silent. "That was classified information." Marcus' smile faltered. "Lucky guess. Your spotter was Sergeant Rodriguez," Rihanna continued calmly. "He was killed by sniper fire on day 3. Single shot, approximately 400 yards. You carried his body 2 miles through hostile territory to the extraction point." Tommy's mouth fell open. Jake stopped laughing. Lopez moved closer. This wasn't public information. Rodriguez had been Marcus' best friend. The pain still woke him at night. "How could you possibly know that?" "Because," Rihanna said softly, "real operators don't advertise their service. They just serve." Dr. Kim moved toward the wall phone. "Security should be contacted about unauthorized personnel having classified information." "Ma'am, with respect," Rihanna's voice stopped her. "You might want to wait for Colonel Harrison." Marcus grabbed Rihanna's wrist. "You need to start explaining yourself." The moment his hand made contact, Rihanna's body shifted with fluid grace. Advanced close-quarters combat training. Her free hand moved defensively while her feet adjusted to combat stance. But instead of following through, she stopped, pulled back, made herself small and submissive. "Sorry," she mumbled. "Reflex. Sometimes I watch too many action movies." "Did you guys see how she moved?" Tommy said. "That was professional-level defensive training." Lopez stepped forward. "What's your name, miss?" "Rihanna Brooks." "Where did you serve, Brooks?" "I never said I served, Sergeant." "Your posture says otherwise. The way you came to modified attention when I entered. The classified information about Syria operations. So let me ask again. Where did you serve?" Marcus studied her hands. Calluses in specific locations from extensive weapons training. Small scars suggesting combat experience. Muscle definition in her forearms. "Those calluses are exactly right for someone who spent thousands of hours on rifle ranges and doing rope work," he said slowly. "I work maintenance. I handle tools. People get cuts from manual labor." Lieutenant Barnes entered, sensing tension. "What's the situation?" Marcus pointed at Rihanna. "This cleaning lady somehow knows classified details about our Syria operation." Barnes studied her carefully. "State your name and clearance level." "Rihanna Brooks, sir. Maintenance staff." But her response came with crisp military efficiency. Maintenance staff don't automatically assume parade rest when an officer enters, Barnes observed. What's your military background? Tommy pulled out his phone. I'll run her name through the personnel database. Jake was scrolling through his phone. This is weird. She shows up as maintenance staff, but her security clearance level is way higher than it should be. Like way higher. Lopez asked directly. Brooks, are you currently serving in any branch of the United States military? No, sergeant. Have you previously served? A long pause. That's complicated. Complicated how? Some service records are sealed for operational security reasons. Marcus felt a chill. Sealed service records meant black operations. Special forces. Operators whose identities were protected at the highest levels. Barnes moved closer. Brooks, are you currently operating in any undercover capacity on this base? Another long pause. I cannot confirm or deny any ongoing operations, sir. The phrase sent shock waves through the room. I cannot confirm or deny was standard protocol for classified operations. Tommy looked up with wide eyes. Her clearance level is higher than ours. Significantly higher. How does a maintenance worker have top secret SCI clearance? Marcus felt his confidence crumbling. What unit? He asked quietly. I can't discuss that. Jake set down his phone, stunned. Guys, I think we just made a serious mistake. Lopez had gone pale. Ma'am, with your permission, I'd like to contact Colonel Harrison immediately. The colonel is already en route, Rihanna replied. He should arrive within 60 seconds. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. Marcus suddenly realized his world was about to be turned upside down. He'd spent 20 minutes mocking someone who might outrank him by levels he couldn't comprehend. Listen, he said urgently. If I made a mistake here, I apologize. I was just trying to maintain operational security. Rihanna looked at him with professional courtesy and barely contained disappointment. Operational security is maintained by respecting all personnel regardless of their apparent position. Real warriors understand that appearances can be deceiving. The door opened and Colonel Harrison entered, immediately taking in the unusual tension. His experienced eyes swept the room. Good morning, gentlemen, he said formally. His gaze settled on Rihanna, and something flickered across his face. Marcus stepped forward. Sir, we may have a problem. This maintenance worker seems to have access to classified information about our Syria operations. Harrison's expression became very still and serious. Is that so? And what classified information was discussed? Details about Operation Desert Storm Echo, sir. Casualty information and operational specifics. Harrison nodded thoughtfully. And how did this discussion begin? Heat rose in Marcus' cheeks. Sir, we were making conversation while waiting for the briefing. Comments about military experience and service records. Comments? Harrison repeated. What kind of comments? Tommy jumped in. We were just joking around, sir. Making light conversation about ranks and service. Harrison's eyes narrowed. Joking around about military service with someone you assume to be a civilian contractor. Barnes attempted to provide context. Sir, the situation escalated when she demonstrated knowledge that appeared to exceed her authorized access level. Concern enough to conduct an unauthorized interrogation in a classified briefing space. Harrison walked slowly around the room. He paused in front of the tactical displays. Gentlemen, let me ask you a question. How many of you have perfect situational awareness right now? How many know exactly how many people are in this room, where every exit is, and the tactical significance of everyone's positioning? The group exchanged uncertain glances. Now, Harrison continued, how many of you noticed that Ms. Brooks has maintained perfect awareness of all those factors since the moment you began your conversation with her? Jake felt a chill. Sir, are you saying her behavior was consistent with someone who has advanced tactical training? I'm saying that anyone with extensive special operations experience would recognize the signs of someone operating under deep cover protocols. Dr. Kim looked alarmed. Colonel, are you suggesting we've been interrogating an active duty special operations soldier? I'm suggesting that appearances can be deceiving and assumptions can be dangerous. Harrison looked directly at Rihanna. Perhaps Ms. Brooks would like to clarify her position. Sir, Rihanna said carefully, "My current assignment parameters require operational discretion regarding specific duties and responsibilities." Harrison nodded approvingly. "Understood. And have those parameters been compromised by today's discussion?" "Partially, sir, but the mission parameters remain viable with appropriate adjustments." Tommy looked confused. "Mission parameters?" "Sir, what kind of mission requires a 2-year deep cover assignment as maintenance staff?" "The kind involving threats to national security operating within military installations," Harrison replied grimly. The implications hit like a physical blow. Harrison activated the secure communications system. Within seconds, a tactical display showed satellite imagery of Coronado Naval Base, along with intelligence reports marked with the highest classification levels. For the past 18 months, intelligence agencies have been tracking a sophisticated terrorist cell attempting to infiltrate American military installations. Their specific target has been Naval Special Warfare Command, with the goal of obtaining classified information about SEAL team operations and personnel. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. The operation to identify and neutralize this cell has required deep cover placement of specialized operatives in positions where they could observe and track suspicious activities without detection. Tommy stared at Rihanna with new understanding. "Ma'am, how long have you been tracking terrorists on this base?" 2 years, 4 months, and 16 days, she replied precisely. "How many potential threats have you identified?" 14 confirmed contacts, 7 persons of interest, and 3 high-priority targets currently under active surveillance. Jake felt dizzy. While they'd been showing off their deployments, this woman had been conducting a counterterrorism operation that literally kept them safe every day. Barnes asked what everyone was thinking. "Ma'am, what unit are you with?" Rihanna looked at Harrison, who nodded slightly. "Delta Force, Special Activities Division, Classified Operations Support." Complete silence. Delta Force represented the absolute pinnacle of American military special operations. Lopez felt like a complete amateur. "Ma'am, what's your actual rank and position?" Again, she looked to Harrison for permission. "Lieutenant Colonel Rihanna Brooks, Commanding Officer of Joint Counterterrorism, Task Force 7. Marcus felt like he'd been punched. "Lieutenant Colonel." She outranked everyone except Harrison. She was a commanding officer, and he'd spent 20 minutes mocking her. Dr. Kim had gone completely pale. "Colonel, we've been harassing a lieutenant colonel conducting classified counterterrorism operations." "That's exactly what I'm telling you." Marcus found his voice barely more than a whisper. "Ma'am, I owe you an apology that goes far beyond anything I can express." "Apology noted, SEAL Thompson, but the mission comes first. Personal feelings are secondary to operational success." Jake stepped forward. "Ma'am, is there anything we can do to support the operation or minimize the damage?" "Actually, yes. Your team's presence provides an opportunity to enhance cover protocols if you're willing to participate in modified operational parameters." Harrison smiled for the first time. "Colonel Brooks, are you suggesting we turn this compromising situation into an operational advantage?" "Yes, sir. With proper briefing and coordination, SEAL Team 3 could provide enhanced security coverage while maintaining the appearance of routine base operations." Marcus felt hope surge. "Ma'am, my team is completely at your disposal. First, I need everyone to understand that everything discussed here falls under the highest levels of classification. Unauthorized disclosure could result in American casualties and successful terrorist operations." Everyone nodded solemnly. Lopez raised his hand. "Ma'am, what kind of terrorist threats are we dealing with?" Rihanna moved to the tactical display and pointed to several marked locations. ISIS operatives have successfully placed assets in multiple support positions throughout Naval Special Warfare Command. Food service, maintenance, administrative support, and medical personnel. Tommy felt a chill. "Ma'am, are you saying people we interact with every day might be planning to kill us?" "That's exactly what I'm saying. The operation is designed to gather intelligence about SEAL team deployment schedules, family information, home addresses, and operational capabilities. The end goal is a coordinated attack against SEAL personnel both on base and at their homes." Shocked silence. This wasn't some abstract threat. This was an active plot targeting them personally, their families. Marcus felt different anger building. Focused rage of a warrior who'd learned enemies were threatening his brothers and their families. What do you need from us? I need your team to continue normal operations while providing enhanced observational support. You'll be briefed on specific individuals to watch for and behaviors that might indicate active intelligence gathering. Barnes leaned forward. Ma'am, how close are they to implementing their attack? Intelligence suggests they're in final preparation phases. We estimate 2 to 4 weeks before they move to active operations. Harrison activated additional displays showing surveillance photos and threat assessments. Gentlemen, what you're about to see represents 2 years of careful investigation into one of the most serious threats to American military personnel since 9/11. The photographs showed base personnel with detailed annotations marking suspicious behaviors. Lopez studied the images. Some of these people I recognize. People I've eaten lunch with. That's what makes this threat so dangerous, Rihanna explained. They're people carefully placed in positions where they can observe and gather information without raising suspicion. Tommy pointed to one photo. That's Ahmed from the base cafeteria. Always friendly. Are you telling me he's a terrorist? I'm telling you Ahmed has been photographing SEAL team personnel, documenting their schedules, and transmitting that information to external contacts using encrypted methods. Marcus felt betrayal. The enemy was hiding in plain sight, using trust as a weapon. What's the ultimate goal? Coordinated assassination of SEAL team leadership, bombing of family housing areas, and theft of classified operational information that would compromise ongoing missions in multiple theaters. Dr. Kim sat down with shaking hands. This is active warfare on American soil. Yes, and it's the kind that requires operators who can blend into civilian environments and conduct sustained surveillance without detection. Jake looked at Rihanna with new respect. That's why you've been working as maintenance staff. It gives you access to the entire base while appearing harmless. Correct. Maintenance personnel can access virtually any area without raising questions. They're invisible, overlooked, and trusted. The meeting continued for another hour with detailed briefings on specific threats, surveillance protocols, and operational security. By the time Harrison dismissed them, everyone understood they had transitioned to active participation in critical national security operations. As the team prepared to leave, Marcus approached Rihanna privately. Ma'am, I need to apologize again. It was completely inappropriate. SEAL Thompson, in special operations, we focus on mission success rather than personal conflicts. Your team's willingness to support this operation demonstrates the professionalism that makes counterterrorism possible. Tommy joined them hesitantly. Ma'am, I learned something important today about making assumptions and judging people by appearances. That's a valuable lesson for any military operator, SEAL Walsh. As they left, Marcus felt like his entire understanding of military service had fundamentally changed. Real heroism wasn't about showing off deployments or intimidating perceived civilians. Real heroism was about people like Lieutenant Colonel Rihanna Brooks, who spent years in dangerous isolation protecting others while receiving no recognition. Over following days, SEAL Team 3 began enhanced observational duties. They watched for surveillance targets, documented unusual behaviors, and reported through secure channels. 3 days later, Tommy reported seeing Ahmed photographing the family housing area during off-duty hours. Lopez noticed Dr. Kim meeting privately with one of the surveillance targets in a location avoiding security cameras. If Dr. Kim was compromised, she had access to psychological profiles and personal details about every SEAL on the base. Marcus immediately contacted Harrison. Within 30 minutes, they were reviewing surveillance footage, painting a disturbing picture of terrorist infiltration. If that information has been compromised, Harrison explained grimly, the terrorists have everything they need to target specific individuals with personalized attacks. Rihanna reviewed intelligence reports. Dr. Kim has been in her position for 14 months. That corresponds exactly with our timeline for active intelligence gathering. Marcus felt sick. How much personal information? Home addresses, family schedules, children's school information, psychological profiles including specific fears, financial information, and detailed knowledge of personal relationships. The terrorists knew how to hurt them in the most personal ways possible. What's our next move? We accelerate the timeline, Brooks said decisively. We need to move to active neutralization before they can use the intelligence they've gathered. Harrison activated secure communication. I'm authorizing immediate implementation of Operation Lighthouse. All personnel will be briefed within the next 6 hours. The operation began at 0600 hours. SEAL Team 3 took responsibility for the 3 highest priority individuals, while FBI and Marine units handled secondary targets. The engagement was brief but intense. Target 7 was armed, wearing body armor, and demonstrated combat training confirming intelligence assessments. He chose to engage rather than surrender. Within 30 minutes, 10 of the 14 primary targets had been either apprehended or neutralized. The remaining 4 had escaped, but coordinated law enforcement was tracking them. Tommy was providing security while intelligence teams searched Target 7's workspace. Look at this. He had detailed floor plans of family housing areas, photographs of children at base schools, and what looks like bomb-making materials. The evidence confirmed worst-case scenarios. The terror cell had been in final preparation for attacks against military families, including children. Lopez reviewed capture materials with alarm. Ma'am, they had specific targeting information for over 200 military families. Names, addresses, daily schedules, school pickup times, shopping patterns. Brooks examined the materials with professional detachment. This represents months of careful surveillance and planning. They were preparing for coordinated attacks that would have been devastating. Marcus felt relief and anger. Relief that attacks had been prevented, anger that anyone would target innocent families. Ma'am, how many American lives do you estimate this operation saved? Conservative estimate, 200 to 300 direct casualties with potentially thousands more affected by secondary attacks. The scope was staggering. Without Brooks's 2-year undercover operation, hundreds of American military families would have faced coordinated terrorist attacks. By late afternoon, FBI units had successfully located and apprehended Ahmed near the Mexican border. His capture yielded additional intelligence about external contacts and funding sources. Dr. Kim remained at large, representing the most serious ongoing threat due to her access to detailed psychological and personal information. As evening approached, Harrison called another briefing. Today's operation prevented what intelligence services assess would have been the most devastating terrorist attack against American military personnel since 9/11. The room fell silent. However, Harrison continued, we still have significant ongoing concerns regarding intelligence that may have been compromised through Dr. Kim's escape. Brooks activated displays showing the scope of intelligence at risk. Dr. Kim had access to detailed personal information about over 400 military families, psychological profiles, financial information, family schedules, and specific vulnerabilities that could be exploited. The discussion was interrupted by urgent communication from the FBI task force. Colonel Harrison, this is Agent Rodriguez. We have a positive location on Dr. Kim and are preparing for apprehension operations. Harrison activated secure communications. Agent Rodriguez, what's the tactical situation? Subject is located at a private residence approximately 30 miles east of the base. She appears to be preparing for immediate departure, possibly to Mexico. Are you confident you can prevent her escape? Affirmative, sir. We have the location completely surrounded with full tactical support. Brooks was monitoring multiple intelligence streams. Agent Rodriguez, has the subject had time to transmit any compromised intelligence to external contacts? Unknown at this time, ma'am. She's been at this location for approximately 4 hours, which would have provided sufficient time for data transmission. Professional operatives would prioritize transmission of critical intelligence over personal safety. Minutes later, Rodriguez reported back. Colonel Harrison, subject has been successfully apprehended with minimal resistance. We're securing all electronic devices and materials for intelligence analysis. Relief, But everyone understood Dr. Kim's capture was only the beginning of assessing and addressing the intelligence damage. Preliminary assessment shows extensive electronic files containing detailed personal information about military families, communication equipment for encrypted transmissions, and evidence of contact with external intelligence networks. Rodriguez continued. The immediate terrorist threat had been neutralized, but they were dealing with a significant intelligence compromise requiring long-term protective measures. Harrison addressed the group. Gentlemen, the immediate threat has been neutralized, but we're now dealing with intelligence compromise that will require long-term protective measures for affected personnel and their families. Marcus felt satisfaction and ongoing concern. They'd prevented attacks that could have killed hundreds, but the price had been a major compromise of personal security information. As the briefing concluded, Marcus approached Brooks privately. "Ma'am, I know I've said this before, but I need you to understand how much my team respects what you've accomplished. The sacrifice you've made for people who had no idea you were protecting them. SEAL Thompson, special operations require people willing to serve without recognition or appreciation. That's the nature of classified work." "Yes, ma'am, but it doesn't make the sacrifice any less significant." Tommy joined them with earnestness. "Ma'am, I want you to know this experience has completely changed how I think about service and respect. That's valuable growth for any operator." SEAL Walsh. Jake approached with a question. "Ma'am, if you don't mind me asking, what made you choose this kind of assignment? 2 years of undercover work has to be incredibly isolating and dangerous." Brooks considered carefully. "Someone has to do the jobs that keep Americans safe. The fact that those jobs are dangerous or isolating doesn't change the need for them to be done." Lopez nodded with understanding from 15 years of service. "Ma'am, that's the kind of attitude that makes special operations possible." As they left, Marcus reflected on how dramatically his understanding of heroism had changed over the past week. Real heroism wasn't about dramatic combat actions or public recognition. It was about people like Lieutenant Colonel Rihanna Brooks, who spent years in dangerous isolation protecting others while receiving no appreciation for their sacrifices. 6 months later, Marcus found himself assigned to a classified facility where he was reunited with Brooks for another critical counterterrorism operation. The professional relationship they developed had become the foundation for ongoing collaboration on some of the most important national security missions. "Ma'am," he said during a planning session, "I want you to know that working with you fundamentally changed how my team approaches military service. That's the kind of professional development that makes complex operations possible." SEAL Thompson. "Yes, ma'am, and we're determined to prove worthy of the confidence you've shown in our capabilities. Focus on mission success, and everything else will follow." The simple wisdom of her approach continued to guide Marcus and his team as they took on increasingly complex and dangerous assignments. The experience of Operation Lighthouse had taught them that real heroism was often quiet, unrecognized, and sustained over long periods of sacrifice and isolation. Lieutenant Colonel Rihanna Brooks represented the best of American military service, the willingness to serve without recognition, to sacrifice personal comfort for the safety of others, and to maintain professional standards even when facing inappropriate treatment from colleagues. Marcus understood that he and his team had been privileged to learn from someone whose dedication to service exceeded anything they had previously encountered. The lessons learned during Operation Lighthouse would guide their military careers and personal development for the rest of their lives. Real military service was about protecting others, often without recognition or appreciation. It was about people like Lieutenant Colonel Brooks, who spent years in dangerous isolation to keep Americans safe. And it was about the privilege of being part of something larger than personal ambition or individual achievement. Marcus and his team had learned that lesson through experience, and they were determined to live up to the example she had set for professional military service and personal sacrifice.